Hey there viewers, let's try something new real quick. See if you guys like this any better. For all those people who are complaining about looking at my nose hairs. How's it going? Thank you for tuning in to Supermariodiagnostics once again. Today we are working on a 2012 Fiat 500 and the customer's complaint is a misfire. It is a dead miss and it came from another shop. It came with a brand new injector on 1 and 2 if I'm not mistaken. And I already did a pre-scan. That's always my first step. And let's go ahead and take a look at that pre-scan. And remove that glare. Let's hit report, and we have fuel injector 2 circuit open and no crank sensor learned, and some transmission faults. But for now, let's go ahead and recreate the symptom. We're gonna go ahead and turn on the vehicle. Let's see if we can fill our misfire. I'm gonna pop open the hood. And it's definitely misfiring. I'm sure you can hear that. And I'm pretty sure it is also number 2. I'm going to go ahead and clear the codes. Those were active codes. I had already saved my pre-scan prior to putting on this video. We're gonna go ahead and go into the powertrain control module. See if it comes right back. I'm sure it will. I'm not doubting the cylinder identification, the misfire identification, but you never know. Let's go ahead and hit trouble codes. Fuel injector open. So I'm pretty sure we are focusing on number 2. The other shop already focused on number 2 if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if there's any misfire data. Injection time. There's no misfire data on this vehicle, so probably in mode 6 there would be, but let's go under the hood and have a look-see. Let's go ahead and remove this resonator or air intake housing, doesn't really matter what you call it. 8mm, 8mm there, 8mm clamp. Oops. A little too much there. And one more down here in the back, which was already loose. Like I said, this came from another shop. They were already working on it. This is already loose. And our number 2 would be this one right here. And they do have new injectors. It might be real difficult to get you guys to see it, but it has new injectors in it. First thing I'm going to do is grab a scope and take a look, key on, engine off, whether this has power on both sides of the injector. I could just go straight to the control wire and look for power. There, key on, engine off. Looks like our power wire is a blue and red. It is the same wire on all of them. And in this case, the control wire would be white and gray. Let's see if we could get you guys a closer look. That's going to be hard to get. You guys can see the wire there. Let's go ahead and tap into that wire. So according to my diagram, a white and gray wire goes from the injector, and it is the command wire that goes all the way to the ECM. I am simply going to do a key on to check if my B positive goes through my injector all the way to my command wire, and it does. That means that our injector is good. Our fuse is good, our harness up to the injector is good, and the injector itself has continuity. Let's go ahead and crank this thing and see how it reacts. Are we going to see command? And we see no command. What we do see is noise. I'm going to leave the key on for now. We do see a relative compression test in a way. and we see noise. If we zoom into those, that is all noise. We don't see an actual command, because if we did, we would see much higher voltages. So our key is on, that is our 12 volts. We need to find out if there's a harness issue or if the computer itself is faulty, the transistor inside the computer is faulty or not. This is the real easy way to do it. I mean, I don't think there's an easier way to check for this, but we're gonna have to disconnect one of these injectors, these connectors, and by looking at the diagram, I already saw that it's pin 4. It's a white and gray wire on pin 4, so I'm gonna check. It looks like somebody's been here already. It's missing a yellow tab. Like I said, this came from another shop. I'm gonna check this one first. My key is off right now, and pin 4 is right here. Let's see if it is a white and gray wire, and it is a black wire. It's gonna be very difficult for you guys to see this, but this is not the connector that we're looking for, because if it was, it would have a white and gray wire on pin 4. So let's go over to this one, disconnect that, and look for pin 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna get a terminal and connect to that and check for power there. We know that our power is good up to the injector. Let me put my key on. Now we're still connected to our injector over there, wire, our command wire. Let's disconnect it from there and check here. Our pin drag did feel good, and we've got nothing. Let me test my lead. My lead is good, but pin 4, make sure I'm on the right pin. 1, 2, 3, 4 has nothing. So there's an open circuit in this harness somewhere. I would like to wiggle something and see if anything comes back. Nothing, huh? Nothing so far. It's pretty hard to access this harness, but by the looks of it, oh, whoa, you guys saw that? Where is it? There's a connector here actually. I have my power on my white and gray on that side of the harness, and I have it there too. So that means everything up to this connector is good. This sub harness is fine. From the injectors to that connector, somewhere along the way from the connector to the main harness, there is an open circuit, because I have power on both sides of this connector. And I do apologize, you guys can't see this, but you may run into this one day. I have power on both sides of this connector, but I do not have power on my pin 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pin 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have no power. So there's an issue not in the sub harness, but between this connector and up to the ECM. And I would love to. I think the easiest thing we could do is probably run an overlay and call it a day. There's no point in undoing all of this. If you guys saw this, you would understand. This harness is buried in there. It might be just so much easier to just run an overlay and call this a fix. I think that's what we're gonna do. Let's go ahead and see if we could get an approval and take it from there. Alright, so we got the approval to run the overlay. We're gonna run it from that connector to this ECM connector, and as closest to the natural path that this harness was already taking. So I'm not just going to do a shortcut. That's not what we want. We want to run it along with the harness as much as possible. And I am going to be crimping it. I know a lot of people are going to be cringing, but in reality, crimping is not an issue if done correctly. Of course, it does help to have the right tools. We're using a Thomas and Betts crimper, and just to illustrate that how much I trust this, I'm going to crimp this and show you guys what I'm talking about. This particular crimp does not have a seam. It is all the way through, but if you do have a seam, you're gonna want to point it away into that bevel, I guess you could call it. You do not want to crimp the seam itself. That will just open it up. So we're gonna crimp this, and I'm gonna try to give it everything I got to pull this sucker apart. And I don't consider myself to have weak hands, but I cannot get this off. So if you're doubting whether crimps will do the job, I don't see it. I think it is unfounded, really. I don't know where that came from. Of course, we are not working on an airbag or CAN bus or flex ray wiring. So in those cases, the manufacturer does recommend a limit as to how many crimps you can put into that harness. Some of them say that no more than 2 in a particular circuit, and there is other variables that come into play, but since this is a simple injector circuit, I don't think there's anything to worry about. It is a straightforward circuit. It is not carrying data. It is carrying a command signal, a grounding signal, and it does it carrying voltage as well. There's maybe 10 amps going through it during the inrush peaks. So crimps, I do not think is a problem. We're going to heat shrink it. I'm not going to film the entire process because, well, it's pretty hard to get a camera in there, and just wanted to share that with you. Do not worry about crimps. And as for soldering, a lot of people would say, oh, it must be soldering. I don't think that's the case. Plus, a lot of people are doing more damage than good with soldering. I mean, they're breathing in all this stuff. I would advise, if you are going to be soldering, don't breathe that crap in. That stuff is so bad for your health. Just keep it clean. Do the crimp. Unless it is a flex ray or CAN wire or airbag, in some cases you may have to run a whole new line from pin to pin, which would have been great here, but pins are not that easy to just source and hunt down and get, unless your manufacturer likes to provide those part numbers easily, which, let's face it, that's not going to happen. We're going to run this wire and redo our testing, clear our codes, and check for misfires. This was basically, the point of the video was basically to give the easiest possible way to check an injector circuit. Now, do you need a scope to do it? No, you don't need a scope to do it, but a scope is nothing more than a visual representation of a multimeter. That's all it is. So yeah, you could have done it with a multimeter, you could have done it with a test light, but a scope doesn't hurt. It's a visual representation. All it is voltage over time. So if you think that I couldn't have done it anything less with a scope, well, you're wrong. I could have done it with a test light, but it sure was nice to see a confirmation of that we were on the correct circuit at the ECM when we found that temporary, very fast connection. We were on pin 4. There's always that doubt, right? Obviously, if we would have looked at the wire, that would remove all doubt, but still, there's just, until you see that confirmation, it's kind of like, oh, well, am I really on that right circuit? Is it that much of an open circuit? Is there something going on in there? Anywho, you don't need a scope to do this. If you're a DIYer and you happen to be watching this for some reason, you don't necessarily need a scope in order to do this job, but it does have its place. It does have its place, and it's a very strong tool. And it doesn't have to be a $4,000 scope. There's a lot of scopes out there, but do your research, know what you're getting, get good with your tools, know the limitations, and keep fixing them cars. Let's get this thing fixed and see how it goes. Talk about getting lucky. As I was pulling that wire to make the repair, it revealed itself. Check that out. That's pretty awesome. I undid the tape, started peeling back the conduit. I didn't want to crimp or make the repair right close to the connector, so I pulled on it a bit, and there it was. So we're gonna repair this the same way I told you earlier, and retest. Alright, it's very hard to see, but we're done. That is our repair. I haven't fully sealed everything with electrical tape. I'm gonna put the conduit back and all, but for now we're gonna go back into the vehicle, get this thing started, and see how it runs. Of course, we did see other codes aside from the injector open circuit, but right now for this video, this is all we're going to focus on. Nice and smooth. I have not cleared the light yet. No more misfires. Sweet. So I hope this was very useful information. It's a very simple diag for those who are experienced. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but instead I'm trying to give credit to those who are attempting to learn this stuff. There's a lot to learn with cars. People don't realize it, and it's just every single system is different, and you have to learn all these things all at the same time. It's crazy. People don't really appreciate sometimes just how much at every single step of the way we have to learn to do this on a daily basis. The idea with these videos is so that people could get better at a very low cost. I mean, it's the same way I learned. I learned on like watching YouTube, watching Scanner Danner, watching Eric O from South Main Auto Repair, watching all of the greats. You guys are familiar with them, but those of you who are watching these videos for the first time, you may not know who I'm talking about. Training is expensive sometimes, and I had to go the inexpensive way, and that was through YouTube. And whoever knocks YouTube as a resource, well, I mean, get with the times. I hope you're making use of these videos. They're there for you. They're not really there for me. I mean, I do this because it's the way I learned. So it worked for me, and I'm hoping this stuff works for you. I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you all for watching. If I earn your subscription, let me know, and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, and don't forget to like the video, leave a comment if you have any questions, and till next time. Thanks.